You've probably heard a lot of experts talk about bubbles bursting. You'll probably hear the top two bubbles bursting are going to be the real estate bubble and the student loan debt bubble. But what if I told you there's something else that I think is going to burst before those two?
It's time for the Margin Matters Minute with Moneyman Jason Brown.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's time for another JB Reacts to a very interesting article I just read in the Charlotte Observer by Mr. Pete Grieve, I believe is his name. I hope I pronounced that right, Pete. And this article is titled, Why $1,000 a Month Car Payments Are Becoming the New Normal. Yes, that's right, folks. People are paying over $1,000 a month for a car. So I'm going to break this article down, and if you want to check this article out, I will link it in the description below if you want to read the entire article. I'm just going to pull a couple excerpts, maybe some of the data, and share with you guys and let you guys know what's going on in the automobile industry. So first of all, it says there are now 1 in 6 car buyers are taking out loans of over $1,000 a month to pay for their cars. Now, that equates to about 17.1%. So 17.1% of all this is for new cars. New car buyers are now paying over $1,000 a month for their monthly car payment. Now, here's where it gets interesting. That is up from just a couple years ago, 4.3%. Actually, in 2019, it was 4.3%. So actually, that was about 4 years ago. This is 2023 when I'm filming this. So 4 years ago, 4.3% of car buyers had a payment of over $1,000 a month. Now we're at 17.1%. This is not a good trend. Now, why is that happening? Well, as we all know, the cost of new cars has skyrocketed over the last several years. So now, actually, the average price for a new car, the average price for a new car is $48,000, nearly $50,000 for a new car, which is complete and total insanity. So let's dive into this article a little bit more. It says this is talking about what some of the experts are saying that this trend is very worrisome. What's worrisome is that other buyers with $1,000 plus monthly payments are spending more than they can really afford, putting themselves at risk of being underwater on their loans and in a tight spot if they have to sell. So this is what I'm talking about as what I think is the next bubble that's going to burst. People like to use that term, but what does that even mean? But really what I'm trying to say here is that people are buying too much of a car that they can afford, and then when you can't make the payments, your car is going to get repossessed. So what's different with this is that, when you get student loan debt and you can't pay your student loans, well, they can't really take away your education, your skill set or your knowledge that you earned. That can't be taken away from you. A car is a material possession. You don't pay for it. The repo man comes in the middle of the night with his tow truck and he takes the car away. So that's kind of a little bit of the difference there. But the number one debt in our country is mortgage loans. Number 2 right now is student loans. But that's going to change soon. Number 2 is about to be auto loans. Auto loans is quickly trending more because of the prices of these new cars. Auto loans is going to take over student loans very soon as the number 2 highest debt in America. So know that. So it says, moving on in the article, some other interesting things. It says, among those agreeing to $1,000 a month monthly payments, nearly 2/3 have longer loan terms between 67 months and 84 months. Now, if you're like me and you can't do math in your head, 84 months, well, what is that? Sounds like a lot of months. So basically, it's saying that people that are getting $1,000 a month car payments are getting loan terms between 5.5 years and 7 years. So this is also the new norm, is getting these much longer loan terms. In years past, not too long ago, it seemed like the average car loan was, I don't know, anywhere between 2 and 4 years. And then people would say, you're crazy if you get a 5-year car loan. And then, a few years, you're crazy if you get a 6-year car loan. Now we're at 7-year car loans. $1,000 a month is the new trend, and it's not a good trend. So a couple other, this is a quote from Jonathan Smoke, who is the chief economist at Cox Automotive. And Jonathan says, the country's love for cars often leads buyers to make decisions economists would consider irrational. And then he goes on to say, they overspend, they break budgets, they forego other expenses in order to get the ride they want. So that's Jonathan's concerns about the situation. Now, again, I mentioned earlier that one of the reasons why this is happening, the average cost of the new car is nearly $50,000 a year. So that's part of the problem, is that the prices of cars have gone through the roof. And most people can't afford to go pay cash for a $50,000 new car, so they have to take out a loan. And then now, the other thing that's interesting, auto loan. Yeah, let's talk about the interest rates. Auto loan. This article says the average auto loan interest rate is 7.1%. So gone are the days where you see the commercials. 0% APR financing. Same as cash. All that stuff. You can't get a car loan for 0 to 4% interest, whatever. I mean, those days are long gone. Now, people are getting, now this 7.1%, I think that's kind of on the low end. I know people that are getting, over 8%, probably between 8 and 10%. It's really going to depend on your credit score as well, what type of interest rate you're going to have to pay on your auto loan. But they're pretty high right now. So that's another part of the problem, is the interest rates are really high. Just that's the economy that we're in right now in 2023. So these are the problems. So let's talk about, let's try to shift to some positivity, if we will. Let's talk about some of the potential solutions. So how can you avoid this? If you need a new car, first note, you don't have to buy a brand new car, okay? Because there's something called depreciation. So depreciation means the value of the car goes down the longer you own it. So in most, you guys can research this for yourself, but most articles and studies that I've researched says that if you buy a brand new car, the second you drive it off the lot, you're going to lose 30% of value. That's depreciation. The value of the car is going to drop 30%. And that seems kind of crazy, but that's just the truth. That's the overall average. Now, over 5 years, it's going to probably be between 30 and 50% of the depreciation. So that means if you buy a $50,000 car, 3 to 5 years later, you can maybe sell it for half the price, $25,000. That's kind of the average, okay? So first tip, if you need or want a new car, would you be okay buying a 1-year-old car or a 2-year-old car or a 3-year-old car? A lot of these cars that are 1, 2, 3, 4 years old, they look like they're brand new cars, and they still have low mileage on it. So if you buy a car that's 1 year old, you will save thousands and thousands of dollars right there, just making that one decision. So that's my first tip. Tip number 2. Never buy from a dealership. Now, don't tell my brother-in-law I said this, because he is a GM of a car dealership. So don't send him this video. He won't like it. So don't buy from a dealership. Why do I say that? That's because, you're most likely going to pay higher interest fees on a loan from a dealership loan. Actually, I'm going to get to that's just going to be another tip in a second. But really, if you have the ability to buy from a private seller, you will save thousands and thousands of dollars on junk fees, taxes, all the extra BS, fees that the dealership is going to tack on. So that might, it might be harder to find a car from an independent seller, but you can find it. You can go online. Auto Trader's a great website. People sell cars on Craigslist, Nextdoor, Facebook Marketplace, stuff like that. Now, again, people might be leery of doing that, but all you have to do is and I've bought almost all my cars I've bought private seller. So what I do is I'll go to the seller and I'll say, look, I'm interested in this car, but I'm going to get it checked out by my mechanic first. I'll give you $1,000 down payment to hold the car. I'm going to take it to my mechanic today, have him check it out. If everything checks out, I'm buying the car. So, and most, honest people are going to be like, yeah, that's fine. I'll give it to you. I'll let you do that. So that's just one way around it. So if you can buy from a private seller, that's going to save you a tremendous amount of money. So tip number 3, research maintenance and repair costs. So what do I mean by that? So if you have an idea of what type of car you want to buy, especially even if it's just a make or a model, like let's say, hey, I really love Volkswagens and those look like really nice cars and, whatever. So, but let me start. I've never owned a Volkswagen before. How much does it cost to get a Volkswagen repaired and maintained versus like a Honda or a Toyota or, a Nissan or whatever? And if you don't know, you can research this on the internet or just start calling. If you have a mechanic that you work with, call your mechanic. Or if you don't, just call local mechanics and say, hey, are Volkswagens expensive to do the repairs? The answer is yes. Volkswagens are expensive to do the repairs versus like a Honda or a Toyota. So this is stuff that people might overlook when they're just going out and buying a car, is like the long-term cost of maintenance and repairs. Hey, what size tires does that car have? How much would it cost to replace all 4 tires on a Toyota versus a Chevrolet, for example? So tires are expensive. So these are some things that you want to do your due diligence and research before you kind of dive in on buying a specific car. So that's an idea. Next tip, tip number 4, research loans before you buy your car. So this is what I alluded to earlier. So this is something I've been burned on in the past. So this is personal experience. I've taken out loans from a car dealership and thought I was going to get a good loan, a good interest rate because I had a high credit score. And that wasn't the case. So what I should have done was, kind of shop that loan around. Some of my friends in the personal finance world said, hey, you should have gone to a credit union or you should have gone to your local bank and gotten a loan through your local bank. They would have given you better terms because they're able to offer lower interest rates. So that's something that you can do. Definitely shop that around. If you have to get a loan, see what the dealership is going to offer if you have to buy it from the dealership. If you're going to buy it from a private seller, then yeah, you're going to have to go get your own loan from either your local bank or maybe a credit union or a place like that. And most likely they're going to be able to offer you a little bit lower of an interest rate, which will save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, when you're paying back the car. So that's something you definitely want to look into. And the last tip, I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, is that you don't have to buy a $50,000 car. Can you get by with a $10,000 car or a $20,000 car? How much driving are you doing? Are you doing a little bit of driving, or maybe you have a job that you have to commute a lot, or maybe you live in a big city like I'm in Atlanta, and Atlanta, you have to drive everywhere you go. It's not really a walkable city, unfortunately. So it just really depends on your lifestyle and your situation. If you need a car that you're going to put a lot of miles on, you might want to spend a little bit more. But the point is, you can find a good used car probably between $10,000 and $20,000. That's a pretty fair range. So you really don't have to spend $50,000 for a car. So there you go. There you have it. So these are just some things to think about and kind of marinate on as we see the astronomical costs of cars going through the roof right now in our country. Do not take out a loan, a 7-year loan, paying over $1,000 for a car, just because that's what everybody else is doing. Don't be normal. Don't be like everybody else. Don't do what society's doing. Your future self will definitely thank you for it. So that's all for today. Those are just some of my thoughts real quick on what's going on in the car industry. So if you want to subscribe, and that would be a huge support. Maybe hey, put some comments below. What's your car experience? Are you shopping for a car? Did you just buy a car? What interest rate did you get? Etc. Share your successes and failures. I would love to see them. Any tips and strategies that you want to share that I may have missed in this video, please put them in the comments to help everybody out. So until next time, as I sign off, if you want to hear some more money videos, if YouTube does its job, it'll pop up some videos up here on the screen, and you can check those out as well. Until next time, remember my favorite saying, it's not the amount of money you make, but the margin that matters the most. See you next time.